All right, what's going on, my friends? 3 o'clock, Chad here. Hope you're enjoying your Friday. The Portland Trailblazers are back in action tonight. Tip-off at Chase Center in San Francisco's at 7. The Golden State Warriors playing the first game at home after a 6-game road trip. They went 3-3 on. Portland right now in the midst of a 4-game losing streak. Tonight they will try and get off the schneid. They are a 9-point underdog. No Shaden Sharp or Drew Holiday tonight. And the Warriors right now 9-8 on the season. The Blazers sit at 6-9. Portland is beginning a mini 3-game road trip. Game day is going to come up at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, and I'll have the network pregame show at 6. Oregon will take on USC tomorrow. That game's going to be at 12:30 on CBS. The Ducks right now a 9.5-point favorite over the Trojans. Rip City Drive with Chad Doings coming at you right now.
Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's time for the Rip City Drive, hosted by the crazy and often irrational Chad Doing. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
Do you have a problem with players partying the night before a game?
Yes, I do. I don't have any problem with partying, but I do want everybody to have their, when we roll in there and we have the team meetings, we have our special teams meeting, which it usually has most of the team that's involved around the special team, except the specialist, of course. And but still, the idea is this is a business trip. Let's get down to business. Let's check it all back in Dallas, and let's get in here and see. That's the night that they spend the night together. As you know, they can say, but it's not quite the same routine. Let's put it like that it is when you're home.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
All right, there's multiple things that I love about that sound bite from Jera. Number one, he made it clear, I ain't got no problem with partying. But before a game, it's a business trip. And you know Jera wants to win real bad. I also love the fact that CeeDee Lamb came out to make it very clear after there were reports or rumors that he may have been vomiting in the hotel there in Vegas, that he has no issues holding his liquor. So I love that quote. Pretty awesome. And then Jerry making it very clear that, hey, I got no problem with partying, but this is a business trip. You know, we're supposed to go in there and try to focus on winning a big football game. Love that so much. There's nothing I don't love about Jerry Jones. He talks openly. He does weekly radio hits in Dallas, which is amazing. He holds his own press conferences, which is pretty wild. A lot of times will contradict what the coach says. Jerry Jones is beautiful. He is a beautiful man, and I would recommend watching that documentary on Netflix if you get a chance, because it is pretty awesome, and it helps you. I think you'll walk away from the documentary having a special place in your heart for Jerry, because you understand why he operates the way he does after you watch the documentary. And you also learn what Glory Hole is truly all about and how he risked everything with when he was up into his eyeballs in debt, and he struck it rich on a well and bought the Cowboys. And now he's trying to recreate, and has been ever since he bought the team, that experience he had as a college football player at Arkansas when he won a national championship with Jimmy. So there you go. Love that. But CeeDee's like, no. I was not vomiting. I know how to hold my liquor. All right, a lot of different things I want to get to today. The Trailblazers are in action tonight. Shaden Sharp and Drew Holiday are out. They're going to be in Golden State down in San Francisco to take on the Warriors. I reached out to one of my guys down in San Francisco, and they're going to be full go tonight. All their key guys are going to play. They rested in the final game on that 6-game road trip at Miami. So Steph and Jimmy, Dre, everyone except for Kuminga is going to be available tonight. So the Blazers are going to be up against it on the road, and as a result, the point spread has climbed, as you might imagine. So the Blazers just trying to navigate right now with guys in and out of the lineup, and I have no problem with them being extra cautious with both Shaden Sharp and Drew Holiday. They both have sore calves, and the Blazers are taking the long approach to make sure they're both okay. That's the way you got to do it. They cannot afford another long-term injury with the guys who are already out. Scoot Henderson still rehabbing from the torn hamstring. Blake Wesley's out for an extended period of time, as is Matisse Thybulle. They cannot afford, especially at the guard position, anybody else missing extended time. They need bodies. So if that means you've got to sacrifice in the short term and be at risk of losing a game or two, so be it. You got to take care of business. Now, for me, I've got a very interesting 48 hours coming up. I've got the Blazer game tonight, so I will get home late after the post game. I'll be on game day and fifth quarter tonight. Chris Burkhardt is on assignment, so you can listen to me and react to the game tonight on fifth quarter, and I'll take your calls and the whole deal. Tomorrow morning, I have a flight out at 5:10 a.m., so I'll get like 3 hours of sleep. I'm heading to Boulder for Arizona State and Colorado. It's going to be senior night for the Buffs. And Kenny Dillingham and my Sun Devils are still competing for a spot in the Big 12 title game. And so I want to get out there and check it out. I looked at the forecast, and this is the beautiful thing about Colorado. Does it get cold there occasionally? Yes. Do they have snowfall? Yes. But they also have over 300 days of sunshine a year. And tomorrow, late November, 60 degrees, clear skies, and sunny, which means the weather is going to be perfect. And I'm going to meet my boy Steve there, and then fly back on Sunday morning to handle other duties on Sunday. So that's my plan, and I'm looking forward to the college football weekend. We also have a really good football game tonight with Hawaii and UNLV. And it's not too often you can say a big game in the Mountain West, but that's exactly what you have here. Both teams right now are vying for a spot in the conference title game. Sitting atop the conference, you have who is that team? So it's not, did I forget the team? Who's sitting atop the conference right now? It's not Boise State. Who just got jackhammered? Oh, San Diego State. San Diego State has one loss, but both Hawaii and UNLV have 2 losses, and that game's going to kick off tonight at 7:30. You also have one other college football game. Florida State is playing a game at NC State. And I think the Seminoles right now about a 6.5 to 7-point favorite. Both teams are middling right now in the ACC, and it's been a very, bipolar type of a season for the Seminoles, who opened up the year in week 0, getting the win over Alabama, and they've struggled away from home. And it started with that loss at Virginia, and then they've just struggled away from home in conference. And so it's been kind of a bizarre year for Florida State, and same thing for NC State. They got the big win over Georgia Tech, but they too have had issues on defense. So that game should be high scoring. But I do think the game down in Vegas tonight is going to be very competitive. Should be a very good football game. And, Dan Mullen's done a heck of a job in his first year with the Rebs. And I would say in my lifetime, this is probably the best stretch of UNLV football I've ever seen. So if you're looking for something to do tonight, I'm just telling you that I think that's one of the better matchups of the weekend on the entire board in college football, because there aren't a lot of big-time games, because a lot of the SEC teams are playing those bye-week type games against bums the way they do. Now, you do have USC and Oregon. I love this matchup. I like the Ducks to get the win, but I do think USC's got a chance to be very competitive. It's a dangerous game for Oregon because USC's got the ability to put points up on the board. Their quarterback, Jordan Mailata, is playing very good football right now. But again, I've said it all week, and I've noticed it throughout the course of the year. The one thing that Lincoln Riley has done really well, he's gotten back to getting better play at the line of scrimmage. And then he has gotten back to his roots, really running the type of offense that he's accustomed to. A lot of people, when they think Lincoln Riley, they think, quarterback whisperer, big plays downfield, whipping it around the yard. But that's not really what his offense is all about. When he got his start at Oklahoma, he was all about the running game. His offense is predicated on setting everything up with the run, being a power running team, and having terrific balance in the offense. And then once he gets the running game going, that's when everything else opens up through the play action, through the boots, and getting his quarterback in a position to attack downfield. Well, he's done that this year. And I think what happened with him is, he had Caleb Williams, who was a big-time prospect, a superstar in college. And when you have a quarterback like that, sometimes I think you feel pressure to put him in a position to showcase his talents. And I think sometimes you can get out of whack as a play caller because you're so worried about making sure that your quarterback, your superstar QB, is happy because you want him to showcase what he can do to improve draft stock. Well, now that he doesn't have Caleb Williams, I think there's better balance on the team. They're running the football extremely well. And so I think that's going to be the key. Where I think they're going to struggle in this game is very simple. If you look at the Trojans away from home, their defense has had issues keeping teams off the scoreboard. We saw them play extremely well at Notre Dame and still lose by 10. We saw them get carved up by Illinois, their other loss on the road. And they've had issues there. So I just don't think defensively USC is going to have enough to get the stops when they need it most to be able to win that game. And I expect Oregon to go out there and win. But I do think it's going to be a competitive game. And my guess would be that that's probably the best game on the card all weekend, at least on paper. And I do think the UNLV-Hawaii game tonight is going to be a lot of fun to watch. So there you have it. That's kind of what we're looking at there football-wise. And the NFL card, you've got the Chiefs and the Colts from Kansas City, which is very intriguing. I do like the Steelers and Bears game. I think that's going to be fun to watch. But a lot of the games are kind of icky, or at least on paper. And you know how this works. Sometimes you look at the slate, you look at the schedule, and you're like, oh, my gosh, there's no good games. And then what happens? The games begin, and then all of a sudden we get a lot of tight football games, and it ends up being a great weekend. So we'll see how things shake out. Now, for me, what do I care? The Broncos are 9-2. They have won 8 straight games. They currently sit atop the American Football Conference as the number 1 seed, and they're going to come off their bye week with games at Washington and at the Raiders. 2 crappy football teams, and the Broncos right now, it's one simple goal: get the number 1 seed. And we all know how this works out. If Denver gets the 1 seed, which they have a great chance to do now, here's the remaining schedule for Denver. They open up after the bye at Washington against the Commanders. Bad football team right now. Jaden Daniels on the shelf. Then they go to the Raiders, one of the worst teams in football, with Geno Smith, one of the worst quarterbacks in football. Then they come back home for 2 against the Packers and the Jaguars. And then after that, they got a road game at Kansas City on Christmas Day. And then they finish up at home against the Chargers. You're looking at a potential 5-1 finish for Denver, which would put them at 14-3, which would basically lock them into the number 1 seed. Now, the weird part about the conference right now, and I can't believe I'm saying this, going into the year, we all thought Baltimore, Kansas City, and Buffalo. In some order, those 3 teams with their superstar quarterbacks were the 3 best. But that's not the case right now. You look at the top of the conference, New England and Denver are clearly the top 2 teams. Buffalo last night, again, showcased their issues. And the problem I have with Buffalo right now is that if you look at their roster, one, their defense is underperforming. And their rush defense is the worst in the league. They're terrible. So they don't stop the run. They don't get off the field. And once again, on offense, even though they have a very good running back in Cook, they're still too reliant upon Josh Allen. They ask him to do everything. And then what happens when they run into a team with a legitimate defense? Josh Allen gets his ass kicked. He was sacked not once, not twice, not even 3 times, 8 times last night. And one time he got hit so hard that I thought he was going to die on the football field. And I love Josh Allen. Chad. I love Josh Allen. Everything about him. But I hate watching him struggle out there because the Bills continue to fail in the department of putting a team around him to where he doesn't have to do it all. And I realize he is like Superman, but come on. Can you get some better protection? Can you put players around him to where you don't have to rely on him? Can you maybe try and mix in the run game occasionally? I mean, he was under siege all night. The pressure was immense. And then Houston, I mean, big props to Davis Mills and the work he's done stepping in for C.J. Stroud. It's been very impressive. But the fact that they were in a position to win the game, and they've got Buffalo sitting on 4th and 27, and they get 1-2 skidooed on a hook and ladder for the first down. If you lose that game because you give up 4th and 27, you're just a bunch of dum-dums. That was incredible. I was about to pull my hair out. And obviously I was pulling for Houston for my own personal reasons because I don't want Buffalo to have a shot at the number 1 seed. You don't want to go to Buffalo in late January to try and get to the Super Bowl. That's a very bad scenario. But I love where the Broncos sit right now. But, man, the Houston defense is awesome. Will Anderson Jr., their pass rush, their front 7, D'Amico Ryans, like they have an identity. We can't really block well with our offensive line, and our offense is somewhat inconsistent, but we can play defense with the best of them. And they shut them down. I mean, they shut the Bills down. unbelievable what we saw last night. What, they held him to 3 points in the second half? It's pretty impressive. And Davis Mills, what I like about him as a backup quarterback, you watch him no matter where he's at, sideline, in the game, third down, first down, second down, it doesn't matter. His reaction is the same. He's like a robot out there. No emotion, very steady. And that, I'm telling you, that has to work when you get in the huddle and you're calm and not panicked. And the guys know that you put in the work and the study time. It gives them confidence they can go out there and win a game like that against Buffalo. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Jump out to me. 88528, the Rip City Radio text line, 88528. You can jump on board at 503-248-0620. 88528 is a very easy way to reach out and connect on the Rip City Radio text line. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Or you can reach out to me on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. I will be with you up until 5 o'clock, and then we're going to kick it over to Blazer Game Day, which I am hosting in preparation for the Trailblazers and Warriors tonight from Chase Center down in San Francisco. Tip-off's coming up at 7. Travis Demers will have the call, and I will be hosting fifth quarter. So I'm doing everything today, wearing all hats, and here for you. You can reach out to me on the text line 88528, 88528. And one simple question for you from the NFL: what team or teams do you think are best positioned to reach the Super Bowl out of the AFC? Do you still think it's going to be Buffalo, Baltimore, or Kansas City? Or do you like Denver, New England, or Indianapolis, who have been the three teams that have been the most consistent in the conference from the beginning of the year up until now? It's not what we thought it was going to be, which is very interesting. So hit me up on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. All right, I want to share this story, and I've got to be careful how I word it, because if I make a mistake, I'm going to get in trouble, and I'm not joking about that. So I've got to be very choosy with my words. And the reason why is, since we're also streaming on YouTube, the person that I'm referencing has got a team of people who scour the web. So if anything is said about the individual or anything is played from the individual, it will get flagged, and then I could get myself in some hot water. But this came up this morning. I went on 105.9 The Brew with Tanner, Laura, and Casey. And Tanner, who is the host over there on the morning show, he brought up something I didn't even know he had knowledge of, which is pretty funny. And someone in the office probably shared it with him. And it's a great story, but I've never been able to tell the second half of the story after I originally broke it out on air. And that's because some wild stuff went down. So let's play a little word association so we can all get on the same page. And I'll see how careful I can be without getting myself in any hot water. So let's think music. Let's think musical acts. I need you to work with me on this. And this is a big-time musical act. And the name of their band is the same name as the NFL team that exists in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. So we all know the name of the NFL team in Philadelphia, don't we? They just won the Super Bowl last year. Jalen Hurts is their quarterback. So we know that name. It starts with an E. That's also the same name of the act that I'm referencing right now. Now, to get specific, because there are multiple people in that act, let's zero in on one individual. He's one of my favorites of all time. I have followed him for years and years. He plays the drums and has initials DH. Are we on the same page? The name of the act is the same name as the NFL team in Philadelphia, and the person plays behind a kit with the initials DH. All right. So about a year and a half ago, Dwight and I were on the show, and I had watched this video from a gentleman over the pond, I think in London, who breaks down music. His name is Phil, and he spells it differently. It's like F-I-L. Never seen that before, but he's a musical genius. He breaks down music, talks about different acts, comments on vocal performances, and he's got a pitch detector. Well, one time, somebody sent in a couple of different cuts from a live performance of this act, which I referenced with the same name of the NFL team in Philadelphia. And he said, "Hey, Phil, can you take a listen to these two tracks? They're from two different dates, separated by a few years. Use your pitch detector, because to me it sounds like it might be the same thing." Well, Phil examined both with that detector, and his conclusion based on the detector was that it wasn't two separate performances, but it was the same track that was being utilized in two different venues, meaning there was lip syncing going on. And a lot of artists do this, right? A lot of bands, a lot of artists will use tracking vocals, backing vocals, or whatever because they might be sick. They're on a long tour. They want to make sure it sounds good, the whole deal. Well, I thought that was interesting, and my mind was blown because for years and years, and I've seen this particular act over 20 times in person, the one thing I can always say is like, look, they don't have a lot of great cleavage. They're not good dancers, but man, they harmonize as well as anyone. And when you go to see them, you're going to get the best of the best. Real people playing real instruments, singing real music. It's the best. Well, when I saw that video, I was like, no way. Well, I just happened to have, over the years, recorded my own personal collection at all these different concerts of this act that I've been to. And I've got hundreds of songs spanning the course of like 20 years. And the reason why I do it is I like to go back and listen and relive the different shows that I've seen. It's one of my favorite pastimes. And I've got certain songs that I love recorded over and over and over again. So out of curiosity, I took one of the songs that I had like 7 different versions of from spanning like, 10 to 15 years. And I was like, I'm going to do my own little experiment. So I plugged them all into Adobe Audition and I stacked them. And normally if you do that, if they're all separate, performances, it wouldn't sound good. Well, when I stacked all these different other versions I had recorded over the years, they all sounded the same when I stacked them on top of each other and played all of them at the same time. That's not normal. And then it occurred to me, it's like, oh no, the guy that I love and the group that I respect so much is getting over on us. And so I was blown away. And so we talked about it on the show. And the whole idea, and we played the sample of the stacking, right? And Godfather was pretty blown away too. But the whole premise of the discussion was very simple. It's like, if you're paying top dollar to go see an act that you enjoy, do you mind or does it bother you if they're going to be using some tracking? Is that a problem? Or are you okay with it? And my whole issue with the whole thing is that if you present yourself as being true to the music and you're charging top dollar, and they certainly are, then I feel like there's something about it that's unsavory. And so I was really disheartened to get that type of news. Well, after the show, so this is the next day, and I'm over at Moda Center doing the pregame show, Blazer Game Day, getting ready for the game. And all of a sudden, my phone, it starts blowing up. And I'm getting calls from like 3 different bosses. And you know how it is. Anytime your boss is calling you, especially when they don't normally call you, and they're calling you nonstop, like, that deal where you're trying to get a hold of someone, you just keep blowing up their phone. My phone was going nuclear, and I looked down at it as I was wrapping up the show. I'm like, oh, this ain't good. I just assumed that it was time for me to walk the radio plank, and they were, you're gonna take me out back and put me out of my misery. So I answer the phone. I'm like, hey, Marshall, what's up? And he goes, hey, Chad. By chance, were you talking about DH yesterday? I said, yeah. And I explained to him exactly what we talked about, what we did, and why we had the conversation. He goes, oh, that's fine. I need you to remove any recording, YouTube, podcast, anything that references that entire segment. I need it removed immediately. And I need you to send me a note when it's actually been removed. I was like, okay. And I was like, wow. So anywho, I contacted my guy. I said, you need to take all that down immediately. And so we did. And I sent the note to my boss, Marshall. And then I talked to my other boss, Rich, and he gave me the background. He said, look, there's nothing wrong with your discussion. It was compelling content. He said, the problem is you picked the one guy that happens to be on the board at our company. I'm like, what? Are you flipping kidding me? He goes, yeah. And he said, that particular individual, DH, placed a phone call that went straight to the top of the company in New York City. And I was like, get out of here. And sure enough, the guy that I love and have supported for years was the same guy that was trying to bust a cap into me. because he did not like the discussion. Now, this is how I know that it's true and what we uncovered is legit because there was no discussion about, well, he's just flat out wrong. No, it was just simply, you got to take it down. You got to remove it. And so that's how that goes. And because I just happen to work for the company that I do, and because this individual is well connected in the upper levels of the company, that's how that was able to get struck down immediately. Now, I will say that my boss thought it was awesome. Now, I'm like, of course you do. Your head wasn't sitting in the guillotine, brah. He goes, no, man, I think it's pretty cool that, a little radio station in Portland could go all the way to the top of the company. I'm like, look, I appreciate that you enjoy that. But there are certain people in this world that I don't really need them to know that I exist, right? Like, I don't want them to know my name. I don't want them to know what I do. I just want to go about my business and not make any waves. And unfortunately, I created a tidal wave that went straight to the top. And the irony in all of this is that there's nobody that loves that guy more than me. Nobody. Like, I'm in love. Similar to the situation that I had with Kobe Bryant when I was nervous and I'm standing next to him in the visiting locker room with Moda and he made fun of me because I got nervous and asked the same question twice. And he's like, see, this is why I don't like you guys. He did not listen to a word I just said. Kobe made fun of me. And the irony there is that I was standing there with a Kobe backpack on, like a little toolbox. And I'm just looking up at him. And the thing is, I love him so much. I'm like, I deserve that. You're right. I wasn't listening. I was stargazing. And my apologies, sir. I screwed that one up. But there you go. That's the story. I had to break it out. Now, I got bombarded. I couldn't tell the story this morning with Tanner because he's like asking me specific questions. I thought at the time that I was on their show this morning, they were on YouTube. I'm like, I'm not saying a word. So I tried to leave a few breadcrumbs, but I'm like, I'm not going to do it and get myself in the crosshairs again. And then I find out after the fact, oh, we weren't even streaming that hour during the 9 o'clock hour. Well, if I would have known that, I could have been a little more specific. So there you go. That's the story I've been trying to get off my chest. It has not been shared yet publicly. That's been behind the scenes. Godfather thinks it's amazing. That's one of those stories where you're like, did that really happen? That actually happened. So there you go. Have you ever had one of your heroes try to assassinate you, annihilate you, destroy you? But that's power right there. I mean, that's an example of what power can do for you. I don't like what that says about me on the internet. You make one phone call, and a few minutes later, it's completely disposed of. That's how quickly that happened. No problem. Oh, DH? Oh, you don't like that? No problem. And I think the best part is, I think the big boss, he's like, I saw a piece of an email chain. Who the hell is Chad doing? Oh, it's so good. 503-248-0620.
That is a classic story, Chad. I enjoy hearing it.
I'm glad I can be here to share. You can reach out to me on the text line at 88528. In other news, the end of December is going to be a disaster in my life. So I think I've mentioned this. I promised my brother, who is suffering right now from cancer that started out in the prostate, or the colon, excuse me. He just made me promise that I would get a colonoscopy. I said, I will, I promise you. And it's the only reason why I'm doing it is because I promised my brother. And so I got it scheduled. But the best part is I called today to get the appointment set up. And I was like, well, I don't know what your availability is. What days do you have available? And they look at the calendar, and the guy's like, well, we got December 24th. I'm like, Christmas Eve? No, I'll pass. So I've got it set up a little bit after that for the end of the month. And then I also got my appointment today to go in and see Michelangelo, or at least that's how he was described to me. I've got to go in and get, I think they call it like a Mohs surgery. Anyways, I've got this skin cancer, basal cell carcinoma. So I don't know anything about it. I think what they do is you go in, and I said, well, how long is this process going to take? And she's like, anywhere between 2 to 4 hours. I'm like, what? 2 to 4 hours? So anyways, what you do is you go in, and they take out a layer, and then I guess they freeze it and examine it under the microscope. and they just keep going down and taking a layer until they get all the cancer cells out of there. And then apparently after that, they sew you up with those dissolvable stitches. And so I'm going in to get that done. So what sucks is just now is that area where they took the biopsy is starting to heal up. I get to go back in and have my face jacked up again. So there you go. So it's great. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We're going to molest you, and then you get to have your face jacked up, or vice versa. So anywho, there you have it. And the instructions, too. There's so many reasons why guys never go to the doctor. I went into my chart, and I saw the instructions for the colonoscopy, and it was like instant, I'm out. This is too much. You got to do this certain days out. You got to do that. And then come to find out the reason why is because you're trying to flush the system. And one guy told me, he said, hey, once you start that process, whatever you do, just make sure you're within very few steps of the restroom. Because he said it's just, you're going to have to go in there a lot. And so there you go. That is what's set up for me. So I'm really looking forward to the end of December. But at least I got it out of the way. I got it done. So I'm all set. I've never been through the process before. I'm not even complaining about it. I'm just saying that I don't like having to follow those type of steps. It's all a big hassle. And I guess I don't really care too much about the Mohs surgery because I've talked to a couple of old guys. And I hit up my buddy Glenn. He's like, well, that's no problem. I've had that done several times. You go in, they take out a couple of layers, and then boom, you're set. Okay, I can handle that. But the other process, you know, there's just certain things like, there's just certain parts of my body that should not be explored by anybody. That's all. And I'm sure you all feel the same way. Like, I don't want people doing that or going here or going where. And I've never been put under either. So I've never been under, but I've heard that it was put to me today. It's like going under is the best. He said that's like a part of your life. You don't remember a thing. It's like been deleted. You fall asleep, you wake up in a different spot, and it's over. So I do like that. I like that part. But the preparation process sounds pretty hideous. So there you go. That's the latest. That's the update. That's my story about DH trying to end my life. And now you know what I've got going on at the end of December. You can reach out to me at 503-248-0620. You can reach out on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. 88528. 503-248-0620. From the 503, incredible story about DH and the band called the Football Team from Philadelphia. The fact that you had your own field recordings to stack and detect that. If the vocals are pre-recorded, does that mean that they also have instrument backing track, or they have a click track to ensure tempo is exactly the same? I don't know the specifics on that, but I think the music they were playing was legit. DH. Great story, man, from the 503. That's Benno from Corbett. Go Blazers. They're going to need help tonight. No Drew and no Shaden. And the Warriors are going to be at full strength except for the guy that Steve Kerr doesn't like to play. That means Steph, Dre, and Jimmy. It's going to be a tough one for the Blazers tonight, but I love that effort. I've recovered from that freaking Vucevic shot. That sucked. All right, we'll keep things rolling. 503-248-0620. You can hit me up on the text line at 88528. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing. All right, I wanted to touch on a couple of numbers, trends for this weekend, looking at a couple of NFL games. I love looking at the trends and seeing how they play out with the games coming up on Sunday. I know a lot of you are into, wagering on these games, which, of course, is crazy. Also, I love how, too, the NCAA, what a bunch of frauds they are. Absolute frauds, and they have been for years. A pathetic organization. So you remember a couple of weeks ago, they came out saying that it was going to be okay for college athletes and staffers to be able to bet on NFL games. And, of course, this came out like a couple of days after the news involving Chauncey Billups and the FBI investigation with the props and the card games and the whole shenanigans, right, with players throwing games with their props. Not a good look. But I love the NCAA coming out and saying, hey, it's no problem. If they want to bet on pro games, we don't have an issue with it. And, of course, what did Michael Franzese tell us? The more access that you give the athletes, the more problems you're going to have. Well, of course, you don't want the college athletes to have access to the pro games. It's too dicey. It's too much of a problem. It's a very slippery slope. Well, they have now come out and reversed that decision. They are not going to be allowed to bet on pro games. Well, I'm sure glad we got a bunch of geniuses running the NCAA. According to this report here, NCAA athletes and athletic department staff will not be allowed to bet on professional sports after the organization's membership voted as of Friday to rescind a rule that would have permitted those bets. The move follows a string of high-profile gambling cases that have raised questions about the integrity of competition in college and pro sports. In late October, Chauncey Billups, coach of the Trailblazers, and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier were arrested in the takedown of two sprawling alleged gambling operations. Rozier was accused of exploiting private information about players to win bets on games. The NCAA announced 2 weeks ago that it was revoking the eligibility of 6 men's basketball players over allegations of sports betting. And on Friday, the NCAA said former Temple guard Hyzer Miller placed dozens of bets on the Owls games, including some against his team. Well, that's inside information right there. The rule change to allow gambling on pro sports would have taken effect November 1st, but under a rarely used rule, each Division I school was given 30 days to vote to rescind the proposal since it was adopted by less than 75% of the Division I cabinet. More than two-thirds of the Division I members needed to vote to stop the rule change, and that bar was reached Friday. The 30-day period would have ended Saturday. Even if the rule had passed, athletes and athletic department staff would have continued to be banned from any betting on NCAA events. Well, obviously, the vote by Division I members also applies to Division II and III, which had also been poised to allow gambling on pro sports. Such bets will continue to be banned at all 3 levels. Late last month, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey sent a note to the NCAA President Charlie Baker expressing concerns about the rule change. The 2 members of the Division I cabinet from the SEC had voted in favor of allowing pro sports betting. NCAA enforcement caseloads involving sports betting violations have increased in recent years. Well, gee, why would that be? Oh, because there's plenty of access around the country now. There are at least another dozen cases being investigated. Well, based on the timeline of the NCAA, those things will be wrapped up in about 20 years. It should have never been allowed in the first place. You just can't do it. Remember, athletes are very competitive, as Michael pointed out, and the ones who make a lot of money tend to be a little more aggressive in their gambling. So they've got to avoid it. And I just hope that not only with the college athletes, but with the pro athletes, these leagues have got to take extreme measures, and I mean extreme measures, to make sure that they understand the dangers and what's going to happen. And I think what you've got to do is you've got to basically have a death penalty. If you bet on our sport, you're done. And you've just got to set the standard and say, we cannot allow this, we will not allow this, and if you do, you're done. And you've got to make sure that each and every year you have a symposium that goes over at it in length. And you just keep repeating the same message. And there should be signs posted up at every arena, every practice facility, until you beat it into their domes that you cannot do this. And they have to understand the risk that if they do, they will be unable to play. They'll be banned. And the reason why you have to do that, and this goes back to the whole Pete Rose discussion with his lifetime ban from baseball. Because the argument has always been, well, why is Pete Rose banned and yet you have, cokeheads and wife beaters in the Hall of Fame? Well, it's very simple. As bad as it is to be a wife beater or a cokehead, none of those particular activities question or bring into question the integrity of the sport. But once you have a coach, an athlete who's betting on or against his own team or betting on the sport, or you have point shaving, all of a sudden people start to question the integrity of the game, and it can disturb the fabric of the game itself. And if at any point you and I and the rest of us get an idea that what we're watching is not real, it's over. It's over. That's why you can't risk it. All right, when we come back, I've got a very special announcement to make, and I will get to some of those trends I was talking about. Blazer Game Day coming up at 5. Tip off with the Warriors at 7. I'm Chad Doing. I appreciate your time. Reach out to me on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. All right, 4 o'clock chat here. What's up, my friends? Trailblazers back in action tonight. They're going to be down in San Francisco to meet the Warriors as they kick off a 3-game road trip. Portland trying to get out the schneid after 4 straight losses. Drew Holiday and Shaden Sharp unavailable tonight. And the Warriors are going to be at full strength aside from Jonathan Kuminga. The Blazers are a 9-point underdog. Game day is coming up at 5 and tip-off at 7. I will also host fifth quarter tonight to take your calls and react to all the action that goes down right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Oregon and USC tomorrow from Autzen, 12:30 kickoff on CBS. Ducks right now a 9.5-point favorite, and the formula for Oregon is very simple. Win out with games against USC and at Washington, and they are squarely in the playoff. You got more of the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing coming at you right now. All right, I'm getting more reaction on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528 in regards to my story about DH, the individual who is the front man for the band that has the same name as the NFL team in Philadelphia. From the 503, that was one hell of a story, Chad. Unbelievable. And I don't like backing tracks. I want the real deal, even if it doesn't sound good. I like the sound of reality and rawness. I can live with that, no problem. And there's a lot of people like that. I think, I think people tend to be usually pretty forgiving. Like if you're seeing an act that's been on, stage for decades and they're no longer in their 20s or their 30s or their 40s, but they're in their 70s, you've got grace. It's like I don't expect you to sound exactly the same as you used to. Also from the 503, sorry for the typos. Don't worry, man. You know what I hate? What is that, the auto text or autocorrect? It never autocorrects into what I want. I get one of these days, I'm just going to take my phone and chuck it like a Frisbee and watch it shatter into a million pieces. That stuff drives me crazy. Sorry for the typos. That was a struggle to read. Got to read before I send. Truly, though, Chad, that is one of the all-time great stories. You sleuthed that, not out of spite, but out of love. You love the band. You're a super fan. That's true. Only a super fan would discover that. And then the guy you idolize comes for your dome. This could be one of those animated 10-minute stories or an episode of the month. I'm a hardcore music lover and playing a band, so that was pure gold. Well, I appreciate that, my friend. Yeah, it's a crazy story. And I still love the guy. And I have had more fun over the years going to their concerts and seeing them in person. It's been the best. But I will be honest with you. Once I discovered that information, I no longer have a desire to go and see them live and pay the type of pricing that they're requesting. They've been playing at the Spear now for like a year or two. And I'd love to go to the Spear, but I don't want to do it. And the reason why is because I know that it's not 100% legit. I understand why they do it. Like, I get it because you're used to sounding good. And when you're a perfectionist, like, think about this. And he certainly is. DH is a perfectionist. I should have known, too. That's the other point from the discussion. Ignorance is bliss, right? There's certain things I don't need to know the answer to. Like, I didn't need to know any of that. So I blame Phil for putting that video out in the first place and ruining it for me. I'd rather live in this world of, rainbows and sunshines or unicorns or whatever that saying is. I didn't need to know any of that, but now I do. So I'm like, okay, I'll just live with the memories I have. But I understand why they do it because they don't, they're used to sounding a certain way and they don't want to embarrass themselves or have people hear them when they're not the same. But it's like, dude, you're closer to 80 than you are 70. All right, I've got a special announcement. And I love kids. I love taking care of people. And I had someone reach out to me today to inform me that there's a very special birthday coming up. And I believe that this individual's birthday is on Thanksgiving. And I've always felt bad for people that have birthdays on like holidays because they get the shaft, right? Especially if your birthday falls on like Christmas Eve or Christmas, because then people do the one gift would actually, they should be getting you two gifts. Your birthday and your Christmas gets lumped together. That's not cool. So I wanted to make sure that we gave proper love. So I know I've got a listener out there who's becoming a young Blazer fan. Her name is Tegan, and she's going to turn 9 years old on Thanksgiving. Now, I'm not broadcasting on Thanksgiving, so I wanted to make sure that I gave the proper shout out and a very happy birthday. So Tegan, I know you're listening right now, and I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart and everyone else here at Rip City Radio, happy birthday, and I hope that you have a wonderful day on Thanksgiving. Now, in addition to that, I have decided for your birthday that I'm going to give you a pair of tickets for an upcoming Trailblazer game. Now, I've communicated with your dad. You get to choose the game, and then once you have the game that you want to go to, you will get back to me, and then I will supply you with the tickets to the game because you deserve an extra present since your birthday falls on a holiday. So there you go, Tegan. Happy birthday. We love you, and I'm very happy you're a Trailblazer fan, and I appreciate you listening to the show, and it was very nice. I enjoyed greatly getting a chance to meet you at Moda Center. And since it's your birthday, I feel like we should play a little bit of music. I was told that you might be a fan of this song right here. All right, there you go. Little crisscross. I missed the bus. Hey, Tegan, happy birthday, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And I don't know what your favorite dish is on Thanksgiving, but it's your birthday, so you can have seconds, thirds of whatever that is. I have no idea. Do you like the turkey? Are you into stuffing? Are you like me and maybe like a little green bean casserole? My guess is you probably don't. But you get with your pops, and once you know which game you want to go to on the schedule, let me know, and I will take care of you. But happy birthday to Tegan out there. All right, Rip City Drive, Chad doing with you up until 5, and then Blazer Game Day, which I am hosting today as we get ready for the Blazers and the Warriors coming up at 7 o'clock. You can reach out to me direct on the text line at 88528. 88528, the Rip City Radio text line. And don't forget the K103 Under the Tree Toy Drive is still going. You can take any new unopened toy and drop it off at one of 21 Jamba Juice locations. And once you do that, they'll give you 10% off of your beverage order. The toys are going to go to support Randall's Children's Hospital, and the toys are going to the kids who are going to be stuck in the freaking hospital for Christmas. So you have a chance to make a difference and bring a smile to their face. And if you go to our calendar page at ripcityradio.com, you will find the information and the details and all of the different Jamba locations where you can drop off the toys. So make sure you take part in that. A couple of things I wanted to touch on NFL-wise. I love trends and seeing how things play out in these games. A few games I wanted to look at because I'm fascinated by some of these stats here. What do you think about Indianapolis coming off the bye, sitting there with only 2 losses, playing at Kansas City? And the Chiefs right now, hard to believe, but are on the outside looking in, not just for the AFC West, but in the AFC playoff picture. I think right now they're technically 9th in the playoff order in the AFC. And they're up against it because the teams they're battling right now for the wild card spots, they've lost games to. They've lost multiple critical games, including one to Jacksonville on Monday night. So what we have right now, Kansas City is a 3.5-point favorite at home over the Colts. So take a listen to this. First off, Kansas City right now, currently 0-5 as opposed to 13-0 last season in one-score games. Like, that's truly a remarkable number. Last year, they didn't make any mistakes and won all of the one-score games, but right now 0-5. And what happens is it's a key interception in the red zone, a missed extra point, a special teams gaffe, someone drops a ball. All of the things that were bouncing your way last year, it's not going this way, that way for the Chiefs this year. But here's the number that's very interesting. NFL teams who are 5-5 or worse and favored against an opponent with an 800 or greater winning percentage are 14-0 straight up and 12-0-2 against the spread since 1990. So the numbers and the trends totally support the Chiefs bouncing back at home with Patrick Mahomes and going to 6-5. But what I'm wondering is about the Chiefs right now. You know, they had that huge game against Buffalo and lost. They have a bye week. We heard about it for 2 weeks that Andy Reid off a bye is untouchable. They go into Denver and they lose the game. In all three phases, offense, defense, special teams, Denver outperformed them, and Bo Nix outperformed Patrick Mahomes in the game. I'm wondering if the Chiefs now, with all the extra games, all the fatigue, all the extended playoff runs and Super Bowls, if this is just the year where the bottom's going to fall out and they're going to have to regroup and make a run next year. Are they going to fall flat on their face because they're just out of gas this weekend against the Colts, or do they bounce back? Because the trends would suggest the Chiefs are about to bounce back. Also, we got an incredible stat in the Detroit game. They're taking on the Giants, and the Giants right now struggling with injury. And the Detroit Lions are coming off back-to-back road games. And a frustrating loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, where their offense couldn't do a darn thing. They couldn't find the end zone. They couldn't sustain drives. They got hammered on fourth down. I mean, Philadelphia dominated the line of scrimmage, and Jared Goff just was uncomfortable. Here's an incredible stat on the Lions for this week. The Detroit Lions are 13-0 straight up and against the spread in their last 13 games when coming off a loss. And wrap your dome around that one. Detroit, the Lions, 13-0 straight up and against the spread in their last 13 games when coming off a loss. So what does that tell you? That Dan Campbell knows how to fire up his group big time when his team's coming off a loss. Another game that's interesting in terms of numbers, Cincinnati and New England. And, of course, it looks like Joe Burrow's going to play, so we're seeing that number start to come down. And the Patriots are one of the hottest teams, along with Denver, in the entire NFL. So we've got a couple of angles on this one, which is very interesting. This one here, the angle, the awesome angle of the week, says play on any 0-3 straight up against the spread NFL non-division home dog in the last 3 games versus a 750 or greater opponent if the home dog scored 10-plus points in its last game, provided it won 16 or more of their previous 32 home games. So that fits the Cincinnati Bengals. And they got Joe Burrow. But New England's playing great ball, and I think Mike Vrabel should probably win Coach of the Year because he might be responsible for 3 or 4 wins alone with what he's done. So a couple of angles for you. We'll keep things rolling. I appreciate your time today. Hope you're enjoying your Friday. We got Blazer Game Day coming up at 5. Tip off with the Warriors tonight at 7 on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, Rip City Drive, enjoying this Friday. I hate that the days don't last very long, but it's beautiful outside right now. Clear skies and a very sexy sunset going down right now in Portland. All right, I love this story that came out of the Cowboys' win over the Raiders in Las Vegas. You know, Dallas got the win. Dak Prescott continues to ball out, and he's having a big year. And they've got a huge game coming up at home against the Eagles this weekend. I actually like Dallas in that game. It's a big-time game. Well, there were reports that came out that apparently Pickens and CeeDee Lamb went out and had dinner and some beverages in Las Vegas before the game. And there were also reports that were unsubstantiated that maybe CeeDee Lamb was vomiting in the casino. Now, he quickly refuted that and said, hey, hold on. Like, he didn't deny that they were drinking or having dinner together. He just wanted to make sure everyone knew he knew how to hold his liquor. I was not throwing up. I know how to hold my liquor. I love that so much. Well, Jerry Jones, he's a fan of partying. He has no issue with partying whatsoever, but he wants his players to know that when they head to Vegas to take on the Raiders, it's a business trip. Now, I could make the argument that when you're facing Geno Smith and Pete Carroll and the Raiders right now, that it's not really a business trip, that it's more like a glorified scrimmage because they suck. What a pathetic team they are. Fortunately for them, they get to host the Browns with Shedeur Sanders at quarterback this weekend. Do you trust Geno Smith enough to get the job done there? But here's Jerry Jones when asked about, and this is what's beautiful about Jera. He will talk about anything at any time and has thoughts on everyone and everything. And he's an NFL owner worth billions. And yet he talks frequently. We need more of this in our life. I'm telling you, it's a good thing. All right, Jerry, what do you think about CeeDee Lamb and Mr. Pickens having a little shindig in Vegas before the game? There you go. He has no problems with partying. He fully supports it, but not on a business trip. That Cowboys-Eagles game, that along with the Colts-Chiefs game is a darn good one. I just love the way that Dak Prescott's playing football right now. And he is a steadying force with the sideshow you get with Jera and the rest of the stuff going on down in Dallas. Now, they did it against the Raiders. So what? Can they do it and put together a complete football game against Philadelphia? A team that is a lot more stout at the line of scrimmage. The Raiders' offensive line is it's a disaster right now. Now, the thing with the Eagles, we saw this against Detroit. They started to find some of that pop in the run game with Saquon, but they're still trying to find their footing on offense and rediscover their identity for what they are this year. It's been a bit amiss, but they're so good in every other phase that they're able to, continue to win games and move forward. Let's go out to the phones. I think Mitch in New Jersey wants to chime in. Hey, Mitch, I appreciate the call as always, my friend. What's going on? What are you thinking about?
Happy family to you and your family.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Happy holiday to you and your family.
Well, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Well, yeah, thanks. The second grandson is due December 26th. The car is fine. I'm already worried about everything else that could go wrong. You know how I think. Well, first of all, for the NFL, what do you think about USC? It's going to be a tough game. If they can win, if they can run the table, they'll be in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, I think
wide receivers.
USC has got to win the game at Oregon if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. There's no pathway for them to the playoff unless they beat Oregon. But like I mentioned earlier, Oregon's got the clear advantage. But what I love about USC this year is that Lincoln Riley's got the balance back in his offense. They run the football extremely well. And then after they get the run established, they've got Mayava in a position where he's making plays. Like we're seeing that Lincoln Riley offense in full effect this year. They look really good. I've been impressed with their play this year.
I think the wide receivers come through, especially Mekhi Lemon. And the defensive line, young upcomings, a couple of sophomores there I like. And it's going to be a great game. Looking forward to it. It's early, at least my time. And with the NFL, I think that all the playoff teams, other than division winners, are coming from the NFC West and the Central. The Bears looking good with Caleb Williams, the Lions, of course, Love, and 49ers are surprising people. You got Seattle, my boy Sam Darnold, and of course the Rams surprising.
What, no love for my Broncos? No love for my Broncos at 9-2?
I was going to get there. I'm going to AFC. Were you expecting to be 9-2, just like New England with Drake? That draft, my Raiders always miss out on these good drafts. The Broncos hit on a quarterback, and New England's got themselves a good one, too.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Drake May's been great. And what's great about Drake May, he's not dinking and dunking. He's been attacking downfield. He looks awesome.
He's a big boy.
Yeah, he's a big boy. And Mike Vrabel's a heck of a coach. Mike Vrabel's awesome.
Yeah, I know. He came out of, who did he coach before? Was it Tennessee?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Tennessee got a good quarterback. Well, I'm loving the college football. I mean, the last 4 weeks, I know Arizona State and Arizona won't make it, but they've been playing pretty well. And I'll leave you my 2 Cal quarterbacks. I know you have time is short, life is short, and so am I. Fernando Mendoza, Heisman. And I hope Cal can keep their quarterback. His name is Carvey Sangopotle. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, I
Did
think
get it
that's
right?
good. Yeah, no, you nailed it.
I gave my daughter 3 names to name. It's going to be Jeremiah, Hayden, Aponte.
Oh, I thought you were going to want. No, I thought you would have thrown Drake in there for Drake London.
Right, with Faywars, he's hurt. The Atlanta might as well just go home. This season's over. Yeah, I wanted DJ, a young LA. Also, the Cal quarterback, but that'd be tough. If the teacher has a hard time pronouncing the name, it just make it difficult for the kid.
Well, I mean, if it's not Drake, it could be Ukulele, as you used to call him, DJ Ukulele.
Ukulele, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty good. Yeah, it's amazing, and these boys are big. These islanders, I'm telling you. I wonder if any of these big guys from Samoa and Polynesians, if only they could play some baseball. I'm reading, and I'll let you go. I know I said before. I'm getting a little tired. I want to see the homegrowns. If the Dodgers are so talented, how come just about 80% are from other organizations?
Hey, did I read that correct? I think Andrew Friedman's going to take on a role with the Lakers. Interesting.
Maybe Shohei Ohtani can pull a small forward because that's what the Lakers are missing.
Well, I've seen enough of Shohei Ohtani. He's capable of all things. So if he wanted to play basketball on the side too, he could probably do it.
Can you believe 3 MVPs in a row, 4 and 5 years?
Yeah.
I know he's the first guy to win MVPs in both leagues in consecutive years. Incredible.
I'm just glad that he won it unanimous because if you don't vote for that guy to be MVP, you're brain dead. Seriously.
Definitely. You should lose your vote. And just like the Heisman, anyone who doesn't vote for Fernando, he'll be the first Cuban to win a Heisman. You got to think how what you call quality coaching there. I mean, journalism there. You got to think. One more thing, I think Riley should have got the MVP. And they've given Aaron Judge because he's a Yankee and kind of like little Fred Gwynn from Hermanster. Remember that show?
Yeah.
But I think Riley should have got 60 home runs by a catcher. No one's ever hit 50. He hit 60.
Well, I would have voted for Cal because of the 60 home runs and the fact we'd never seen that before by a catcher. And I believe his value to the Mariners is as great as any player to any team in baseball. But if you look at the numbers just straight across the board, it's not like a travesty. Aaron Judge's numbers are better. That's not even debatable.
Yeah, sure. Why couldn't it be a co-MVP?
Because that's un-American.
It's like
that's un-American.
Un-American, like ties. And they can't have ties in football. Come on.
I know. That's what I'm talking about.
A rough sport.
No, it's like that Green Bay Dallas game earlier this year. There's nothing more un-American than a tie. Hey, who won the game? Nobody. What? It's dumb.
We disagree on that. We had a tie in baseball. That was the All-Star game. Genius.
Yeah, you can't have a tie. Ties are not cool, and football needs to get rid of ties. There's got to be a way to solve that issue. But I love Mitch. That's my man Mitch in New Jersey. He mentioned New England and Denver. And every time I hear New England and Denver, I can only think about one thing. This drunk guy that called me up once because I said Denver was going to beat New England in the AFC title game, which, by the way, they did. So I was right. But I think Robert was drunk because he said, not New England, he said New England. You know, sometimes when you've had a few too many, you might slur a few words. I think Robert was drunk. Well, I don't think it. I know it. Robert in Portland. What's up, Robert?
Okay, you're saying New England and Denver.
Yes.
So who's smarter, Brady or Manning? Who's smarter, Belichick or your quarterback?
I'm going to say that Peyton Manning's smarter than
New
Belichick.
New England.
What is your point?
I'm sorry. New England. We beat Manning so many times. We beat.
Hey, what happened the last time that Manning faced Brady in the playoffs? What happened the last time Brady faced Manning in the playoffs?
Sorry. We're going to Super Bowl. Bye.
Yeah, that guy was drunk. The way he said New England, Manning, and then when he said Super Bowl, he took the ER out of it. So it was like Soup Bowl. We're going to the Super Bowl. And I've been there before. We've all been there where you've had a few too many and you start throwing out random words and slurring words, and then your thought process slows down dramatically. We're going to the Super Bowl. New England. Robert in Portland. What's up, Robert?
Okay, you're saying New England and Denver.
Yes.
So who's smarter, Brady or Manning? Who's smarter, Belichick or your quarterback?
I'm going to say that Peyton Manning's smarter than Belichick.
New England.
What is your point?
I'm sorry. New England. We beat Manning so many times. We beat.
Hey, what happened the last time that Manning faced Brady in the playoffs? What happened the last time Brady faced Manning in the playoffs?
Sorry. We're going to Super Bowl. Bye.
Yeah, I forgot too. The other thing he did there is he pronounced Denver, not with the N, but D-E-M-V-E-R, Denver.
That's a new one.
I love that. I need more drunk people calling me. I'm a big fan of that. He was drunk. There's no question about it. I'm also a big fan of the nasally guy. I need this guy to call in. He's probably dead now, but it's really a shame because he used to leave voicemails for Brian Wheeler. He would crack on wheels and to Antonio Harvey and complain about the Blazers. I just want to know if this guy is he alive or dead?
Brian Wheeler, it is now Wednesday, March 5th. I want to emphasize the ex-Blazer fan, like tens of thousands of others, were totally turned off by the Blazers' failure to represent the city of Portland. You really should resign because you are totally unprofessional. I have never heard a broadcaster like you. You complain and whine about everything. Even when an opponent makes a basket, it's Ian. He's in the key too long. He traveled and got away with it. You're totally unprofessional. Please get out and find someone like Bill Shumley who does the job in an adult and responsible manner and doesn't complain about every aspect of the game. Perceived calls on the Blazers, perceived non-calls on opponents. I don't even listen to the games on the radio. I watch TV and I see Mike Rice and Mike Barrett, adult professional broadcasters. I know why you left Sacramento, because they couldn't stand it. And the same thing in Portland. You're really offensive to listen to. The Blazers, on the other hand, are a disgraceful, shameful team. What did they do? They screwed 20,000 fans and blew a game, another winnable game against the Lakers, the lowly, pathetic Lakers. And the Blazers are geniuses at figuring out how to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And they lose another one, another unforgivable, inexcusable game. At the end of the season, the Blazers need to leave town. The fans have had enough of this. They have blown so many games this year and taken advantage of the best fans in basketball. They ought to creep out of town with their tails between their legs. A lot of us know better than to go to these games, and I pity the poor schmucks that show up at the Rose Garden, not the Moda Center, and leave shaking their heads in disbelief and disgust. If this is the kind of team we're going to have, better that we go without one. You know, there are lesser basketball leagues we could join, but Portland is a disgrace to the NBA. And if this team really represents the city of Portland, it's a waste of time. Please resign from the team. You're not doing the job. You're embarrassing everybody. I've listened to a lot of broadcasters for almost 60 years, and you are the worst by far. If you can't be a professional, if you can't be gracious when the other team scores, you're really in the wrong profession, Brian Wheeler. And if this team plans to represent the city of Portland, they better have a change of attitude and stop shoving it to the best fans in basketball. Good day.
Oh, my goodness. This is a waste of humanity's time.
Like, where's that guy at? I need him to call. I don't know his name. I just want a phone call from the guy. That's all. I want to know what's going on in his mind right now. He probably would not be happy with the way things are proceeding right now, with the guys being in and out of the lineup, having issues. You know, Wheels was great at that, though. Very upset when the other team was doing good things.
1 minute left in the OT. Turns. A tough fadeaway shot is in. Man, these Rockets won't die.
Oh, there you have it. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. We've got Blazer Game Day coming up at 5 o'clock. And then we got the tip-off with the Warriors and Blazers from Chase Center down in San Francisco coming up at 7. Travis Demers will have the call on that. And I will be hosting fifth quarter tonight following the game. So you can reach out and we can connect and talk about the way things go down. There's no Drew Holiday tonight, no Shaden Sharp. That would appear to be a bit of a problem when you're getting ready for a game. We're going to say Warriors squad that's going to be at full strength with Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green and Steph Curry. But I do love the fight, the scratch, and the claw that we saw from that group on Wednesday in that gut-wrenching, annoying loss to the Chicago Bulls. The way they fought back in the fourth quarter in that 32-7 run and should have won the game. But you miss a couple of free throws and you leave the door open, and sometimes those guys will cash in. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Brian Noah has been texting me. I'll give you a little bit of an update from his experience last night on the field in Houston with the Texans and Bills. You got the Rip City Drive. Chad Doing with you on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Well, as you know, I'm a big fan of Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State. And I love this response here. He was on Arizona Sports, and he was asked about the questions that he has about his coaching future and quarterback Sam Levitt, who's from West Lynn. Take a listen to this exchange. Like, Kenny Dillingham just gets it. He knows how to respond to the questions. He's very genuine, and it comes across when he talks about different topics, which I love. Here is Kenny Dillingham as his group's getting ready to take on Colorado in Boulder tomorrow.
After the win last week, Kenny, was your status. And you said you're not going anywhere. You were never going anywhere, and you quelled those rumors again. My question on that is, I mean, there's football left to be played. You still have championship aspirations to reach the Big 12 championship game again, and having to deal with all the rumors and speculation. Do you find that to be more frustrating or flattering, or is it somewhere in between?
I don't care. If we go out there and get our butt kicked tomorrow, it'll be, how underachieving was this team? They need to do everything different. Fire everybody. Like, that's the world we live in. Episode 12, season 25 of ASU football. Like, who cares? Like, I know and we know what we believe is necessary to win here. We're going to keep the train on the tracks. And when we fall off a little bit, we got to get back on and keep going. And it's just the nature of this reality show that we're all in.
The Sam Levitt rumors that were reported this week about his future, do you tie that into being part of the reality show? And how do you think your team, top to bottom, dealt with all that talk?
That's like in the part of the reality show where they like show the clip and then they send you to commercial and then they bring you back like 4 minutes later. It's just, you just move forward, focus on what we can control, and that is playing our best football versus Colorado.
There you go. That's a perfect response. And I love it because he's just being real. And the good thing is, and I think this is a good thing even for Oregon or any school, if you have a coach that's killing it and doing a good job, he's going to be desired by other schools around the country each and every year. And that's the problem you want to have. You want other teams to want a piece of your coach because that means that he's doing things the right way. And if you're Sam Levitt, he had an injury this year. He was shut down for the rest of the year. And his draft stock has taken a hit, so he's going to come back to college. Now, ASU has been able to be competitive in the NIL market, especially with their quarterback. But because he is as good as he is, other schools, and the two reported ones right off the top, Texas Tech and Miami, they're going to come and see if they can get a deal struck. That's just the business of college football now. I mean, Sam Levitt, as much as I love the guy, love watching him play, I'd love to see him stay with Dillingham. He simply has to listen to what other schools have to say. Someone might make him an offer he can't refuse. But I just like Dillingham and the way he handles his business. Now, I want to bring in Brendan, who's with me, and he also covers Oregon State sports with Beaver's Edge. What is the latest that you're hearing with the coaching search? When do you think we're going to have a coach named? Where are we at? Who are the candidates? What are you hearing?
Yeah, what's going on, Chad? I think we're getting close. Based on what I'm hearing, I think we're going to have somebody the first week of December. You know, it's hard to say still when, but I think as far as the portal goes and retaining your roster, also signing day, I would be pretty surprised if they don't have somebody in place by December 1st or 2nd. That being said, latest we're hearing over at Beaver's Edge is that they have completed the selection committee has completed their rounds of interviews and have now passed along the final 3 to Scott Barnes for ultimate final decision. Now, we feel pretty confident that we know who the 8 names are, and again, they've kind of been widely reported. As far as the final 3, that's a question. You know, we've heard both Oregon coordinators, Tosh Lapoy, Will Stein. We've heard Alabama assistant Jamarcus Shepard. We've heard former Wisconsin coach Paul Christ. We've heard UConn coach Jim Mora. Many, many names, but it sounds like now this final 3, they're keeping a little close to the vest. And even as you've been doing the show today, I've been sending some texts back and forth trying to figure out where that final 3 mix is. And it's it's still kind of up for debate. So we'll hopefully hear some more soon. But I'm excited because this season has kind of been forgettable, and at least a new coach is going to kind of bring in some new energy.
That's awesome. I'm not excited about the Paul Christ name, to be honest with you. But some of the other younger potential candidates are exciting to me. I'm just real big on recruiting.
Me too.
It reminds me of the Oregon hire when they brought in Dan Lanning. No one heard that name. No one knew he was a potential candidate. And then when it was announced by someone close to the program in Georgia, no one believed it here.
Mm-hmm.
And he's come in and done a heck of a job. I think you need young, energetic recruiting freaks to take over the program.
100%. I think in today's world of the NIL, I think, you need somebody who can relate to, Chad, I say this all the time. My youngest brother is 20 years old. I'm like, you need somebody who can relate to 18 to 22-year-olds really, really well. And that's, it's something that not everybody has, and be able to, have that factor on the recruiting trail. That being said, Chad, you go back to, Arizona State, right? They took a chance hiring Kenny Dillingham, who was just a one-year coordinator under Dan Lanning, and it worked out well for them. The more and more I think about the process, I think Oregon State would be wise to kick the tires on both coordinators in Eugene. I think both those guys are, elite recruiters and have kind of built up a pretty good coaching acumen. But then there's also, like I said, the possibility of a guy like Jamarcus Shepard, who have grown a lot in the process too. So, as always, Chad, for all the latest, make sure you're checking out Beaver's Edge. But that is what we know so far.
I really like the idea of Jamarcus Shepard, too, by the way. I like his resume. I like where he's at. And that's an out-of-the-box type of hire. And that's the type of hire they need. And who did you say is on the committee? Mike Riley?
Yeah, there's a whole, I think there's 7 total. I don't have the full list in front of me, but the football people on that list are Mike Riley and Brandon Cooks. So, again, I've talked and know both of those guys personally throughout their time at Oregon State, and I do trust their football knowledge and acumen. But as I mentioned, it sounds like from what we're hearing, the final decision will ultimately come down to Scott Barnes. So we'll see as it all shakes out here.
But you're thinking by first week of December, we should have a new coach there.
Yeah, early signing day, Chad, is December 3rd. If I'm looking at, yes, that Wednesday, that's when I think the 7 or 8 kids remaining in Oregon State's class or any of, high school recruits would sign. So, yeah, I would expect if they don't have something by then, that first or that recruiting class could be interesting early. So I would guess the 1st or 2nd right now.
All right, looking at the text line at 88528. Can we get a show me your Sooner? Yes, there you go. Hashtag Boomer Sooner from the 971. That was a pretty sweet win over Alabama on the road. And with that win, Oklahoma now squarely in the playoff picture. And now it's just a matter of not stubbing your toe at home over the final 2 weeks against Missouri and LSU. All right, big thanks to Brendan Slaughter. And to all of you, I appreciate you. I will have Blazer Game Day coming up next as we set the table for the Trailblazers and Warriors from Chase Center. Tip-off's coming up at 7 right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Love you.